Hare Krishna. So today we'll start with the fourth chapter of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the previous chapter, now in the until now, the conversation between the Shaunaka Rishi and Shaunakadi Rishis means the sages along with Shaunaka Rishi and Sutta Goswami was taking place. And they were Shaunaka Rishi and other sages were asking questions to Sutta Goswami, and Sutta Goswami was answering. So in the last section, Shonakrusi, last chapter, Shonakrusi actually summarized and all the major incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And now onwards, we'll actually moving into the main Bhagavatam, like how the Bhagavatam started and everything. So in this chapter, like this Prabhupada named this chapter Appearance of Sri Narada. This just Narada's entry will happen in this chapter. Mm. And but before that, what are the in what under what circumstances like Narada appeared, or what what is the significance of appearance of Narada? Means like is there any so specific reason, like anything, any speciality of appearing Narada here is like what are the situations that led to that give that much significance to the appearance of Narada is given in this chapter. Okay, basically there won't be much thing about much of Narada pastimes here that will come from next chapter, but in this chapter we'll be mainly dealing with what are the circumstances under which Narada is brought, Naradaji arrives here, Narada Muni arrives here. So in this chapter, this chapter is divided into uh, 4 sections. In the first section, from verse number 1 to 13, the Shaunaka Rishi asks further questions to Sutta Goswami, and from verse number 14 to 25, he discusses about Vyasadeva, means how Vyasadeva divided into one Veda into 4 Vedas and the literary works of the Vyasadeva, and then from 26 to 31 Vyasadeva dissatisfaction because and then from 32 to 33 is how Narada enters into the scene. Okay, so if you see now the sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi, they are humbly requesting Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is a very elderly person when compared to the that that association. Hmm. So here and what happened now? Uh, the sages who assemble there in the what you call Naimisharanya, they are doing sacrifice for thousands of years, and they wanted to actually they decided to go with Srimad Bhagavatam, and for them to as their representative, they actually selected Shaunaka Rishi. And here Vyasdeva writes Shaunaka Rishi was like very elderly. In the first verse he writes he was very elderly, Vruddha, and Kulapita means he is the head of the assembly and learned man, and he's well qualified to address the speaker. So even when a Bhagavatam class is happening, there should be a one person who is uh, who is actually mainly interacting with the or mainly representing the audience to the speaker. Mm. Means like it is an etiquette. Okay, and afterwards then Shaunaka Rishi glorifies Sutta Goswami. He says you are great devotee, best speaker and all, and then he requests and he further before putting questions, it is said like when we are when before asking questions in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, we actually first price like they should be grateful, in a humble requesting manner. We have to put the questions, not like a demanding or arguing manner. So that's what this etiquettes means. It is said that no, in Srimad Bhagavatam there is everything regarding all the Vaishnava etiquettes, all the mannerisms. No, that we can learn if you clearly observe how the sages are asking. If you further go in depth after some time, you'll come to know what how to uh, how should be our behavior, how we should think. Everything can be nicely learned when we actually identify ourselves or put ourselves in the character of the in the position of the characters of Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Shaunaka Rishi is asking to Sutta Goswami, and Shaunaka Rishi, even though uh, Sutta Goswami is little younger than Shaunaka Rishi, Shaunaka Rishi is giving great respect to Sutta Goswami. So you are all clear, right? Srimad Bhagavatam is like one speaker speak to another speaker. No, first Vyasdeva speaks Srimad Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami, and from when Sukadeva Goswami reciting when Sukadeva Goswami was uh, giving Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, in that assembly, Shaunaka Rishi was also, Sutta Goswami was also there. Sutta Goswami then in turn uh, gave the Srimad Bhagavatam, the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, to the sages of Naimisharanya. So, and Vyasdeva is writing the conversation between the 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 sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami. So, you can stop and ask me if you have any questions or anything confusing. Okay. Now, here in this here Sutta Goswami is little younger than Shaunaka Rishi, but still Shaunaka Rishi is giving great respect, and is requesting. Actually, Prabhupada in this section he elaborately uh, gives the discusses about what should be the um how a preacher should be, and what are the principal things, what are the minimum requirements that a preacher should have, like it actually said that the in the varnashram system, the Vedic scriptures are different for different uh, ashramas. Okay, no, like there are four kinds of Vedic scriptures, brahmanas and brahmanas, samhitas, aranyakas and upanishads. Okay, so brahmanas are meant for brahmacharis. mm. These they recite, no, they actually teach in a the knowledge in a very particular way that is good for brahmacharis, so that they can use that knowledge in grihastha ashram also, that can be useful for now proceeding towards other higher ashrams. Okay, and then the samhitas are meant for grihasthas, and aranyakas are meant for vanaprasthas. Aranyakas, from aranyakas onwards, higher and higher philosophy starts. And above aranyakas are Upanishads. Upanishads are meant for sannyasis. So this Upanishads, the knowledge of Upanishads is meant for sannyas. Sannyas means Upanishad means the highest language, because so when we see Bhagavad Gita, they call Bhagavad Gita as Gita Upanishad. Hmm? And Upanishad, but actually, as per the standards, the knowledge of Upanishads are to be given to a level of person who is on the level of sannyasi, means his mental state, his conscious level, or his renunciation should be on the level of sannyasi. So, for that kind of person only, this Upanishad knowledge should be given. But when we say Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita is also called Gita Upanishad, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us, go each and every place and don't see any qualification. Yare dekho tare ka hai Krishna Upadesha, means give whatever Krishna gave in Bhagavad Gita to everybody without any distinction, without any making any discrimination. So then how can we understand this? Because there it then at this point of time the intelligence of preacher comes into the picture. Hmm? So a preacher, the two things are necessary, two things are required for the preacher. He has to have he should be loyalty to the parampara, means uh, the knowledge that which he is representing or which he is going to give to the audience. He has to be loyal, means he should not concoct his own ideas, or he should not bring up his own new no, or mental speculations or anything like that. He should not present all those things. He should present the original message, just like Srila Prabhupada. Even though he came to the West, he never compromised on philosophy, he never compromised on the purity and the authenticity of the scriptures. So, in the same way, a preacher should always be loyal to the parampara. And in the next thing is, he should also be sensitive to the audience. So, preacher is the one who connects parampara to the audience. So, he should be sensitive. Means he should take the philosophy and put the philosophy in such a way that the audience will understand, means like giving nice example, what is relevant to them. Like that he should be able to clear the questions based on their mental, intellectual, and all the state, their level. Not like no I'm just I'll just quote some Sanskrit slokas. If you understand, otherwise you forget about it. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, so that's why it is the intelligence of a preacher to be, he should be loyal to the parampara and also sensitive to the audience. So, but the while preacher is like when the preacher wants to put the philosophy of Guru Parampara in such a way that the philosophy is not contaminated. How can we say like when we start preaching, some ideas may come to us. Yeah, so if I put no, if I do give this modern example or quote some cinema or something like that, no, that it would be good. This it would be a nice what you call nice way of explanation. But like no, but it is said that one should always maintain that connectivity to the parampara. How can we check check if you are maintaining the connectivity or not? That can be checked by the 9 principal teachings of Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya gave 9 teachings saying that one who is a preacher should always comply to with these statements. No, what are those statements? I'll show you. I just searched something. So here, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the alone is the supreme personality of Godhead without a second. And the second statement is he is the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. And third statement is the universe is real, not just like Mayavad philosophy says, right? Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, like that. But Madhvacharya says that universe is real, but it is temporary. Okay. And fourth statement is the difference. There is a difference between Ishvara and Jiva and the matter. Means the difference is real. Okay. And fifth statement is Jiva souls are by nature servants of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. Okay. And sixth point is there are two categories of Jivas, liberated souls and the illusioned souls. And seventh point is liberation. Moksha means attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, entering the eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Lord. That is seventh point. And eighth point is pure devotional service to Krishna is the only way to attain this liberation. And ninth point is the truth may be known by pratyaksha, direct perception, anumana, or inference or logic, and Shabda means scriptural or sound authority. So these are the main things that a preacher should comply with always. So that's why, like, if you want to, if somebody is deviating from these principles, means then we can simply identify that he is a bogus preacher or he is not in the parampara. Then we should not listen to that kind of preachers. So here, but in this case, Sutta Goswami is a bona fide preacher coming from the disciplic succession, coming from Vyasdeva to Sukadeva Goswami to Sutta Goswami. So like that. So and Shaunaka Rishi is glorifying Sutta Goswami, how he is well versed and how he is well learned and how he is loyal to his teacher, his spiritual master, like that. And after knowing this, the sage Shaunaka Rishi asked questions about Sukadeva Goswami, because Sukadeva Goswami is the spiritual master of Sutta Goswami. So just give 1 minute. So yeah, now like after that, the sages will ask questions about Sukadeva Goswami, and the sages list the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami. He says Sukadeva Goswami is a Mahayogi, Samadruk. He's a great devotee. He's equibalanced monist, and uh, and his mind is always concentrated in monism, and he was transcendental to mundane activities. Being unexposed, he appeared like ignorant. So here the sages are listing the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is like, he appeared like ignorant, and he is by birth Brahman realized. He was such that he stayed in the womb of his mother for 16 years, and after coming out of the womb for and he immediately started walking away from the home. He actually he's very, he appears like ignorant, means uh, like here the sages also saying like he is unexposed and he appears like ignorant. Means just like if a child, he is not exposed to different things, there will be some cheaters, there is somebody who loves, or somebody who does friendship, no like if you see the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj also, when the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, what are their names? I'm not able to recall. They try to teach him the, how to identify your enemy, how to identify your friend, and how to deal politics. When his teachers, uh, they are teaching this, the sons of Sukracharya to Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was not interested at all. Why these people are always saying, you should punish your enemies, you should always kill your enemies, something like that. uh. So he doesn't like this. Why are you seeing the difference of enemy, friend, and all these things, like that? So he's like, always devotees. They are always appear to be. mm, Ignorant means for a person who is always, uh, who is always looking for sense gratification, looking for, this kind of false proprietorship, or whose mind is full of enjoyment mentality. That kind of person is always looking for sense gratification. And if somebody sees that, if a person, if he sees devotees are very indifferent to the sense gratification, means they are not agitated, they are not, so much excited about the sense gratificatory thing, buying new things, or going to different places of sense gratification and enjoying, like that, this kind of things. Then when the materialistic person sees the devotees for him appears to be very, ignorant people. How can the people like this can live in this world? That's what they think. So here in the case of Shukadeva Goswami also, the sages are not saying that Shukadeva Goswami is ignorant. Sukadeva Goswami appear like ignorant, means he's not ignorant, but he actually he appears like ignorant. He doesn't give importance to what ordinary common man gives importance. Means the object of sense gratification, no, eating, sleeping, mating, or defending, like that kind of things. So like that's why when like there are for uh, for somebody to advance spiritually, no, or there are three things that should be always kept in the mind. Okay, like that we should be well equipped. mm? Like if somebody want to fight a battle and win the battle in a war, what are the three things? Main things are that the person who is going to fight, he should be well equipped with suitable weapons. And he should be well trained. He should be knowing how to use the different kinds of weapons nicely. mm, and he should be always alert. mm, like even though if you have nice, very sophisticated weapons, and you are nicely trained, but if you are not alert, no, like then enemy can strike you in when you are very much relaxed. So a devotee also, he should be well equipped with all the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and scriptures like Chaitanya Charitamrita, that all the bona fide scriptures which Prabhupada gave us, he should be well equipped with all the knowledge of all these scriptures. And then he should be well trained. He should be well trained in the sense means how to apply that knowledge, where to apply, how to seek. uh, so all this training should be nicely given. And he should be always alert. mm, Means like he should be always alert to avoid what should be taken and what should be rejected. You should always go. You should be alert in taking the association of devotee. You should be alert in making progress, making a progressive steps in the spirituality, rather than associating with sense enjoyers or materialistic person. He has to use our intelligence. We have to use our intelligence to skillfully avoid the association of materialistic people and take the association of devotees, so that we can nicely progress in our spiritual life. And then, so when we are equipped with all these things, then we will be spiritually well protected. So but if you have the mercy of Krishna, no, Krishna as Paramatma, he will give the intelligence on how, and he will give the intelligence, he will give the skills, and he will also give the consciousness to be always uh, to recall as from him comes the remembrance and forgetfulness, and he is the protector. So when we take the shelter of Krishna, when we please Guru and Krishna by our service and by our attitude, then Krishna and Guru, by the grace of Krishna and Guru, we will be protected from the attack of Maya. So in the same way, mm, Sukadeva Goswami, he was very much alert. No, he was very careful in avoiding the association, false association. So that's why, even though it is his own family, his father's family, so Vasudeva and his wife, as soon as he took birth from the womb of the Vasudeva's wife, he just started walking out. No, he didn't want to come back again. So because he felt like, no, being in a household life, it will lead to the attachments. Attachment will lead to false emotions, and when we are struck with these emotions and attachments, and we cannot focus on our spiritual goal of Brahman realization or Bhagavan realization. So thinking that, he started walking, and when Vyasdeva noticed that Sukadeva Goswami is leaving home and going away, then Vyasdeva was worried that he didn't undergo any samskaras, and he didn't that as a father he has to do samskaras to the son and also give him knowledge, because uh, Shukadeva Goswami by birth he is Brahman realized, but Brahman realization is not sufficient. Brahman realization is not the ultimate. So Vyasdev wanted to give him the ultimate thing, the knowledge of Bhagavatam and knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, like that. So when Sukadeva Goswami was started walking away from home, Vyasdeva started running behind him. So, and Sukadeva Goswami not caring and just going off, and when Vyasdeva is calling out Shukadeva Goswami's name and oh son, come back, then like that, because Shukadeva Goswami was so much identified with the Brahman, the trees and other things, like Brahman is all pervading, right? So they were responding to the calling of Vyasdev. And then when this incident is happening, when Shukadeva Goswami was walking away from home, when one nice incident happens that was quoted by the sages of Naimisharanya. So in that forest there is one pond, and in that one pond some heavenly damsels were taking bath, and Sukadeva Goswami just was walking, and he comes by that lake, no? And these heavenly damsels, after seeing Sukadeva Goswami, they were not bothered to care about him. Means they didn't react to anything, because and they just continued what they are doing. And Shukadeva Goswami passed by, and then since Vyasdeva was running behind Shukadeva Goswami, he followed the same path. But when the ladies, when they saw this Vyasdev is coming, they immediately become alert, and they started covering their bodies, and they become very, what do you call, careful or cautious. Then Vyasa was confused. My son is 16 years old, and he is looking everywhere, and he is fully conscious, and he is going straight towards you, and but you didn't care about him. You didn't even react towards him. And how come I'm as good as your father or grandfather at most, at least? No, the age difference is that much, and and also I'm not looking at you only. And why you are so much, what do you call, what made you think like that? Means like, what is the difference did you see in both the cases? Then the damsels replied that this Sukadeva Goswami is like, he doesn't care, he doesn't see the difference between a man and women, but you do. mm. So he is actually, uh, he says, uh, he is indifferent to the, all these gender discriminations. So that's what the damsels give to the Vyasdev. So then when in this section Prabhupada writes, like Shukadeva Goswami is intelligent enough, he is to avoid the, and also Prabhupada writes about the abilities of damsels. They can identify, the ladies can identify what is going on in the mind of person, either man or woman. So, and also, yeah, and in this case we should not also uh, like undermine the status or undermine the authority of Vyasdev. Vyasdev is also self-realized, but because he is in Grihastha ashram, it is a duty of a Grihastha to discriminate and act accordingly. Unlike Vyasdev should not pretend to be like, no, non-discriminatory thing, because Shukadeva Goswami is right now a brahmachari, is right now a renunciate. So that's why he is the indiscrimination works for him, but not for Vyasdev. So that's why proper, right? Vyasdev is actually he's also a liberated soul. So when this conversation is happening, and then the this sages also, before asking about Shukadeva Goswami, they ask the questions about Srimad Bhagavatam also. Like, how, in which yuga or which place did Vyasdev write this Srimad Bhagavatam? And then after asking the questions about Srimad Bhagavatam, they ask questions about this, Shukadeva Goswami, and they also recall about how this instance, how after taking birth he started walking, and Vyasdev has to run after behind him like that. And then they also ask questions about Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj, he was the grandson of hmm, Maharaj Yudhishthir, and he was the most dharmic ruler, and he was, due to him, the dharma was established and at that point of time. And the Shaunaka Rishi says, no, even though so many of them are dependent upon his life, no, if so many lives are depending on something, that should not be given up. Mm. But why did Parikshit Maharaj decided to give up his life and tried to fast until death on the bank of river Ganges? No? Like this is how Srimad Bhagavatam has came into picture, right? If you see the actual title, uh, no, here if you see the year, like Parikshit Maharaj was sitting on the bank in front of Shukadeva Goswami, but he's before that he was sitting to fast until death. Okay, and the sages are asking questions to Suta Goswami, like why did Parikshit Maharaj decided to fast until death? Why he wanted to give up his life? And his, because his life is a shelter for so many people, and actually because of him the dharma was established on on the planet that at that point of time. So why did such a person wanted to give his life? Because there is so much of spiritual significance for his life. Why he wanted to give up his life? That's what they ask. And also they glorify different qualities of Parikshit Maharaj, and they say how Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee, like that. And then finally they ask questions about Vyasdev. Hmm? So until now we discussed, right, the sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya. They first ask questions about Srimad Bhagavatam, and then again they ask questions about Sri Sukadeva Goswami, and then they ask questions about Parikshit Maharaj. So then now Sutta Goswami started responding to the sages of Naimisharanya. He's saying he started from where? From the Vyasdev. Okay, Vyasadev Vyasdev was born of Parashara Muni and Satyavati, eh, in the third part of Dwapara Yuga. mm. And once Vyasdeva could see the future, okay, now he started reciting the story of Vyasdev. He is starting from Vyasdev and then he will come to Sukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, everything. Okay, so then Vyasdev, what happened? Like he started to see the anomalies, the what how degradation will happen in Kali Yuga. mm. And he wanted to do something, like it is said that if you have the ability to help others, the Mahatmas doesn't wait for anybody to tell them. They'll just go ahead and do that. Like if you see Prabhupada doesn't have to come to America to establish ISKCON or so many centers and something like that. But upon the order of his spiritual master who? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur knows the importance of the philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam and the need for this to go to the people in general, or into the Western world also. That's how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur decided that a person like Prabhupada should go to the West and preach the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and if you see the no, so that is a compassion of great souls. No, they don't wait. They don't. They take great endeavor to preach, to educate the people in general. No, so that they become God conscious and they perfect their lives. So in the same way, when Vyasdev also, he saw the anomalies. He saw the how the degradation will happen in Kali Yuga. He thinking that the knowledge of Vedas, thinking of knowledge of Upanishads and all these things will help. He actually divided one Veda and into four Vedas. No, he divided one Veda into Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samveda, Atharvana Veda. And then he's thinking that all the sacrifice mentioned in the Vedic scriptures will help to, at least to some extent, to counteract the effects of Kali Yuga. He kept them everything nicely arranged, and because of all these misfortunate or unfortunate situations for the Kali Yuga people, he also then he wrote uh, Upanishads, Aranyakas, and then finally he also writes uh, sorry, he only wrote he wrote Itihasas, Puranas, Itihasas like Ramayana, Mahabharata, like that. So and then finally, after writing all these things, after doing such a great welfare activity for the humankind, he was not satisfied. No, he was thinking, owing to all the like all the unfortunate situations of Kali Yuga, I have actually kept everything for the welfare of everybody. Now, if we do something uh, positive or something pleasing to Krishna, then we'll automatically get satisfaction. No, that's why it is said that the happiness increases in giving. Mm. So, like uh, in sharing happiness doubles and difficulties become half. So if we share with others, our happiness or anything, that knowledge also increases, no? So in the same way, Vasudev also, this is like when we do any welfare activity for others, then if it is pleasing to Krishna, when Krishna is pleased, then we will automatically get will be automatically satisfied. Will that satisfaction will can be felt in our heart. Mm. So, but Vyasdeva being when even though Vyasdeva does this such a magnanimous work, that I can say, of putting all the Vedic literature into script, until that point of time, the Vedas are coming from one guru to his disciple, and from his disciple to his disciple, like that. So it is coming in a Shruti form. But when it came to Vyasdeva, Vyasdeva has scripted all of them, so that the people of Kali Yuga who cannot remember anything, not even 10-digit number of their cell phone, they can actually take advantage of Vedic literature. So you can just imagine, like without Vyasdev self, there is no point that we have access to Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. No, just like that, without Srila Prabhupada's help, we could not have never touched or approached any of the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, something like that. So after doing such a great work of dividing one Veda into four and giving all the Vedic or Puranic or literatures, Vyasa was not satisfied. And he started contemplating why, what, however, Vyasa's mind was dissatisfied in spite of engaging himself in working for the welfare of all living beings. And he thus began to reflect on this. Okay, so he then Vyasa actually what he does, he actually uh, thinks about his work. No, did I do anything wrong? No. So he says, under strict disciplinary oaths, under unpretentiously worshipped with Vedas, Guru, and altar of sacrifice, mm, abiding by the rules and abiding by the rulings, exhibited the impact of disciplic succession through the Mahabharata. Mm. So, and though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas, I am feeling incomplete. Mm. So, so he's thinking like as per the Vedic literature, Vedas are Apaurusha. Vedic knowledge is perfect. If Veda says something means it is perfect. So if Vedic knowledge is perfect, then what about the person who actually knows Vedas by heart and who scripted all the Vedas for the benefit of everybody? He should be more and more. what do you call, satisfied. He should be more and more matured and advanced. But the person who is a compiler of the Vedas, he is fully dissatisfied, and he's not. He is struggling to find the reason why I am not satisfied, why this dissatisfaction arose in my heart, like that. He's contemplating, and finally he comes to a what do you call, understanding or conclusion that no, what is a possible reason that he might be disappointed. So he says in the verse number 31, he says, Kim va Kim va bhagavata dharma, Kim va bhagavata dharma, na na prayena nirupita priya paramam paramahamsanam ta ta eva hi achyuta priya. He says, this may be because I have not pointed our devotional service. Sir, I have not pointed out devotional service, which is dear to both perfected beings and infallible Lord. So then he comes to the conclusion, because I have not sufficiently glorified the pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. And at that point of time, then when Vyasdeva was regretting his defects, Narada Muni comes into his cottage. Vyasdeva, and then when Vyasdeva sees Narada Muni, Vyasdeva gets up and respectfully offers obeisances to Narada Muni and worship Narada Muni, treating him equally to Lord Brahma. Means when one sees a spiritual master, Vyasdeva's spiritual master is Narada Muni, right? When one sees spiritual master, he should immediately get up, and he should actually worship him first as equal as on the level of supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, so that is the respect that we should give to spiritual master. So that is the basically the entire overview of this chapter. So now I will just cover see how, like, I was not following this PPT. I was just uh, going through. Then I will show the PPT and just give an overview. Okay. So these are the questions now, like that the Shaunaka Rishis kept, and then 6 questions. They first asked about Bhakti, Savai Pumsam Paradharma. So then about Bhagavan, from in the last chapter, that was answered by Shukadeva Goswami, and about Bhagavatam. Mm. So now here in the in this section here, they first glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, and then while glorifying Bhagavatam, they also questions about the history of Bhagavatam. Mm. Before going to the history of Bhagavatam, they also questions about the pastimes of Shukadeva Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, and finally comes to Vyasdev. Vyasdev actually, he is in his meditation, he saw the anomalies of Kali Yuga, and then answering when Suta Goswami started answering the questions, he started with Vyasdev. He first glorifies Vyasdev, and then he says how Vyasdev saw the misfortunate situation of Kali Yuga people, and then he actually divided one Veda into four, and then he scripted them, and he gave authority. For Rig Veda he gave Paila Muni, and for Samveda he gave the authority. He kept under the authority of Jaimini Muni, and Yajurveda he kept under the authority of Vaishampayana Muni, and Atharvana Veda he kept under the authority of Angira Muni. Means for the preaching purpose, he sent one of his disciples to preach one Veda. Okay, and Romaharshan, who is the father of Suta Goswami, he is the he gave the authority for him for Puranas and historical records. Means Puranas and Ityasas. Uh, Puranas like Srimad Bhagavat Purana, Matsya Purana, Vishnu Purana, like that. Uh, Agni Purana, like all these 18 Puranas and Ityasas means Ramayana and Mahabharata. He gave the authority to Romaharshan Rishi, Romaharshan Rishi to preach. We will the pastime of Romaharshan Rishi will come later in the different sections, how Romaharshan did not respect Balramji when he comes into the assembly of the sages. All the sages gets up as soon as Balramji comes in that assembly. But Romaharshan thought he has the you don't have to respect Balramji because he's on the authority level. But Balramji, speak just takes a blade of grass and touches him, he just dies. So, but other sages, they actually request Balramji. Actually, we gave him benediction to long live, and we were, uh, but our benedictions will go bad if you don't do something about it. No? So when sages requested something to Balramji, then Balramji gave extra lifespan to the son of Romaharshan, who is Romaharshan Sutta or Sutta Goswami. So the Sutta Goswami is now reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam to the Naimisharanya sages. And now, like when Vyasdeva wrote all those scriptures and sent all those, did all this welfare activity, and then, and he was not satisfied, and he was started contemplating, where did I go wrong, something like that, and then he actually comes to the conclusion that due to me not glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the his devotees, I might be dissatisfied. Mm. So there in the, if you see the Vedic scriptures, there are there are three main authorities. Okay, first is like Shruti Prasthan, and there is Smriti Prasthan, and there is Nyaya Prasthan. Shruti Prasthan means reciting Vedic mantras, reciting the Vedic what you call recitations with proper meter, without any without mispronunciation, without any mispronunciation, with complete, without any incompleteness. Only a qualified Brahmana can nicely do that, and that is called Shruti Prasthan. Prasthan means achieving the perfection through Shruti. Okay, and Smriti Prasthan. Smriti Prasthan means understanding the scriptures, understanding the Puranas, understanding the Itihasas in a proper manner and applying them into our lives. That is called Smriti Prasthan. So the persons like Parivrajak Acharyas, like Srila Prabhupada, or something like the sages like Narada, they are called Parivrajak Acharyas. They wander from place to place and give this knowledge to everybody. So their prasthan is their their way of perfecting the spiritual life is through understanding and application of spiritual knowledge. And next is Nyaya Prasthan. Nyaya Prasthan means through the to it's a Jnana process, means it's a how the Nyaya how should be dharma should applied in different cases like that. So, but right now we are actually following the Smriti Prasthan. Now here, after Vyasdeva comes to this conclusion, about why he is disappointed and what is the uh, what might be the reason for his uh, dissatisfaction. Then he comes to realization because insufficient broadcasting of Lord's glories, and he puts more emphasis on he kept more emphasis on only four purusharthas, which four purusharthas, sorry, purusha arthas, that are dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So if you see the Vedic literature, it is only the glorification of dharma, it is only the glorification of artha, there is only glorification of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. There is no glorification of bhakti or the glorification of the Lord. So if you see all these four purusharthas, they only meant for the enjoyment of the jiva in this material world. So actually the jivas by nature they have the tendency to enjoy. They have by nature they have the tendency to enjoy the sense gratification. And Vyasdeva actually gave the right through the Vedas that okay, you are entitled for enjoyment. You can enjoy without any restrictions like that. Without caring for who is the creator, what is my relationship with him, how to get out of this material world. That kind of tattva chintana So that kind of thinking that they don't have to do that kind of message that was authorized by Vyasadeva. So that's why Vyasadeva realized his mistake and then he compiled this Vedic Srimad Bhagavatam. So and then finally Narada Muni he will give he will instruct in the next chapter, he will instruct how what is the fault that Vyasadeva has done and how we can rectify it, and like that in the next chapter we'll discuss in the next meet class. If you have any questions or comments, I don't know how many of you followed, but I think it was a little bit of what I speak and what I show is so much of difference. Were anybody able to follow any questions or any comments?
No, Prabhuji. No questions.
Are you able to follow, right, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Dandvat Pranam. Prabhuji, very nice. Thank you so much for the instructive nectar. You explained it very nicely. We followed it.
Thank you, Mataji. I was because I'm only speaking. Nobody is because I cannot see you also. I'm not sure if you are able to follow.
Oh,
Or not.
Very, very
maybe.
instructed. Very nicely you explained it, Mata. Prabhuji, I mean, very, very grateful.
Yes,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you the recording if you have any questions. You can also revisit and you can ask anytime. Mataji. Thank you very much. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Thank you.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.